we ran out of Black Rifle coffee. There was a payment info, didn't get changed, processing thing. We'll have some more tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow.
Okay.
Subject for today.
Whoa.
I was inspired to do a spit take because Wade did it so well, but then I didn't.
Disgusting.
I saw you almost do it.
Quarter Black Garrett is with us.
sorry.
Am I mirroring to you properly right now?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
because yesterday was a technical disaster, we all know, because we thought Quarter Black had the COVID.
Yeah.
Turns
Turns
out
out
you
no,
didn't.
I
And
don't.
we
Hey,
wrote
I'm
an
kinda
entire
disappointed.
series of sketches
Boring.
of him as our COVID correspondent.
Very disappointed.
Come on.
So I do apologize. But we have so much to get to today. We have my half Asian lawyer, Bill Richmond, is here, obviously.
Hello.
Everyone, Quarter Black, Audio Wade, Gerald A. But it's really important that my half Asian lawyer, Bill Richmond, is here because we are going to go through the 234 pages of sworn affidavits just in the state of Michigan right now. And they say no evidence at all of voter fraud.
None at all.
Or irregularities, none at all. There are over 234 pages that you can all read, but they're handwritten and they're not really labeled. And I think that someone should be hung from the gallows before breakfast for doing that. But thank you to Reg the Bandit and myself for spending an hour and a half yesterday at 10:30 reading them.
Just thank yourself.
Before we get to that, this is something, just before we get into anything else, also we're passing the Young Turks today, which is kind of, we'll do a little bit of celebration. But this is something, in case you wondered if the left was beyond parody. I just wanted to leave with this, and we'll go back to it with Georgia voter fraud. But this is a New York Times columnist, Thomas Friedman, the lesser Friedman.
The lesser.
Encouraging people, this was last night, to move to Georgia just to vote for Democrats.
I hope everybody moves to Georgia, in the next a month or two, registers to vote and votes for these two Democratic senators.
Now, that may, in a vacuum, like, oh, what does that matter? I actually made that statement 2 days ago on this show as a joke, solely because I know it's highly illegal. So here's the clip from me 2 days ago. I am this close to calling every single Louder with Crowder viewer and everyone here to go rent out a timeshare or apartment in Georgia and voting the shit out of those runoffs. I'm this
residency.
Close to just doing it, but I know that we would be caught. Oh, well.
Man.
I made a joke about doing something illegal. I made a joke about the fact that we would be caught doing something illegal. 2 days later, the New York Times columnist encourages people to do something illegal. By the way, half Asian Bill, is it illegal?
No, it's totally illegal. Look, there's a process by which you can actually move to a state and become a registered voter.
Yeah.
But the time frame and what they're specifically suggesting is, no. It's a no.
Not only is there evidence of voter irregularities and fraud in the election, but if you could minority report this right now, you would arrest him for committing voter fraud.
Whoa.
Months from now. He just said, and there are more people who say the same thing. Which, all right, hold on, look at CNN right now. They're talking about hospitalizations and COVID. So, really quickly, by the way, we have a lot to get to today. Do consider following me on Instagram because it's Louder with Crowder. We do some lifestyle stuff as well. Branding, lifestyle branding, ass modeling, and we will be taking your chats later on at the end of this show. And do consider joining Mug Club. Crowder election stream is still $30 off.
Still going.
Still
because
going.
the election is not over.
Still strapped.
Bill, you were saying this earlier. You were watching TV, and I don't know if he always tries to tone it down on air.
Yeah.
It was President-elect Biden, and you had some words.
I think it was President-elect. Fuck you, Biden.
Yeah, something like that. I was sitting there.
It's just a
going
quote.
over a
Just
legal
quoting.
briefing. He just hears like President-elect F you Biden. I'm like,
Oh, okay. Thanks,
that's
Bill.
a lawyer. So,
One of the good ones.
and my question before we move on is, which battleground state do you think has engaged in the shadiest voting practices? Because now we're looking at, obviously, you have Wisconsin, you have Michigan, you have Pennsylvania, Georgia, you have Arizona, you have Nevada. Which one do you think is the most egregious? We'll be going through state by state next week, so you can kind of have it as a catalog and a reference point, because we've been doing it as the info comes in, but I do understand it's tough sometimes, especially when they say, well, there's no evidence of any kind of voting irregularities, and you're like, well, there's so much, but where do I go? We got you covered.
Good.
And let me know, comment right now, take a second, pause it if you're watching this in the archive, and then come back to it. Let me know if your mind changes after you see the Michigan affidavits.
Right.
Before we move on, though, this is one of my favorite things that happened this week. A Biden voter being mobbed by the mob, trying to tell them that they shouldn't mob him.
Oh.
Just trying like,
White supremacy!
I love it goes like this too. Like he waves his hand like he's a shaman. Like, Harris,
Be peaceful.
When I first saw that clip, I thought he was like talking to them or preaching to them, and it was like a lectern or a stage, right? But then when I read the language at the bottom, I was like, no, this, because I was just watching on Instagram, and then I was like, that's not. There's no way that's what was really being said. And then I heard it, and I was like, oh.
I love, pardon my language, but it was bleeped, but it's so funny. People need to watch that clip. It's as though you wrote a sketch where he goes, I voted for Biden. Please be peaceful. Fuck you! White supremacy! Like he thought this was going to work. What did you think would happen? They weren't going to burn your stuff down?
Right.
Look, I've got a sign.
Biden's still he's very white.
One of the good white ones.
But I gotta say, those protesters were pretty spot on. I mean, if there's anyone as the party of white supremacy, it's definitely Biden.
Yeah.
I mean,
And his slave-owning first POS candidate, VP.
Well, I mean, look, between the two of them, one of them has thrown more minorities in jail for victimless crimes than the other, and it's her.
And one of them has had their direct ancestors enslave more people than anyone in this room. That is also her.
Wow.
No, actually, I learned that footage was from a Democratic Party meeting.
That's true.
You get the two sides.
Nothing's changed.
Yeah.
And to be fair, the pool is tainted, but if anytime Robert Byrd shows up. Excuse the
Stretches the
average.
party, yeah.
It's not a bell curve. It's a Robert Byrd curve. Okay, so let's get into the Michigan affidavits here. I know this is boring for some people. I understand. But I want to make sure that you understand exactly what is in this document, what matters. Kind of some of these things are tough to read.
Yeah.
So first off, this was introduced by quite the dish, Kayleigh McEnany, yesterday. Here you go. This is her announcing it.
We keep hearing the drumbeat of where is the evidence? Right here, Sean. 234 pages of sworn affidavits. These are real people, real allegation, signed with notaries.
And then she was immediately cut off.
She has no
evidence.
proof.
We'll have to
Those blank
talk about it later.
pages,
So
Chris Wallace was then hosting Hannity's show. He was
Right.
like,
No. Neil Cavuto's like, this won't work with my schedule for Baby Geniuses 4.
whoa.
It's a tight schedule.
He is.
Early production.
So it's 235 pages of sworn affidavits. I want to go through what I think are the most notable. First off, Half Asian Bill, can you explain to people what a sworn affidavit is and why it matters? Why it's not just, I think this election is bad.
right.
It's a statement under oath. I mean, a lot of people have had to fill them out, where you go to the bank or you go to a notary and that person is a witness. They take down your name, they do the signature, so you have a record of making sure. It's a long process. It's been around for a while. We're now doing some digital signatures, which is the electronic version of that. But essentially saying, like, there has to be a penalty if we're going to rely on these words. It's a central part of how the legal system works, is that you can trust that someone isn't going to just put false information in a statement. And so there are two different systems. You have the state and the federal. At the federal level, the penalties are wide-ranging depending on the circumstance, but you could generally have about up to 5 years in federal prison.
And that's perjury. Perjury applies to sworn affidavits,
Exactly.
just like being under oath in court.
It does. I mean, when you are making an under oath statement in writing in an affidavit, it is the equivalent of sitting on the stand with a judge there and making a statement, again, under oath.
Yeah.
So in the state of Michigan, which is where these affidavits are from, they actually have even more strict penalties. It can be up to 15 years, and it's a felony. So you would have to believe that these affidavits are false. You would have to believe that someone was willing to give up not only more than a decade, potentially, of their own freedom, but also all the other things that go along with being a felon and the rights that you lose.
Yeah, and you don't want to be Michigan's next Ilhan Omar. Or sorry, Rashida Tlaib.
Yeah.
The point is, their affidavits, their hands on the Quran. You were about to say something there?
I was going to ask you. So when somebody makes a statement like that, doesn't somebody say, "Are you willing to sign an affidavit under oath saying that this is true?" Like, isn't there a process? These people didn't just go like, "I'm going to go find a notary and make this statement," right? They were appraised of kind of the penalties potentially.
Well, they know the
lied,
penalties.
right?
For sure. I don't know the process. Let's not get too nerdy with the process. We'll go back to it. But
people-
they know.
I'm just
full
saying it didn't
affidavit.
happen by chance. That's the whole
No,
point.
no,
Like,
no, it
these
didn't happen
people
by
didn't
chance.
just run out and try to do this,
No.
like not knowing the consequences.
There are many hundreds, totaling well over 1,000 affidavits
Yeah.
across. These are just from Michigan. By the way, I was looking this up. Someone can probably fact check me. I might be off by one or two. Christine Blasey Ford, I believe there were 4 affidavits, and they were just affidavits of people saying,
4, huh?
"I think Christine Blasey Ford told me about a party." So that's it. I mean, I don't really know what that is. Like, I don't know how you disprove it. Whereas these affidavits are very detailed as to what these people saw taking place. So let me give you one here. This is from page 17. The PDF is available to everyone. We'll have the link up here. On page 17, someone said that there were batches of ballots run through the ballot machine as many as 5 times. This is a direct quote. Ooh. At approximately 4:50 a.m., I witnessed a man spraying a chemical on a ballot machine. He then placed 27 ballots into the machine, and I noticed tape on the top of the ballot where a ballot number would normally be. Throughout the night, I witnessed him insert these same 27 ballots at least 5 times.
What?
Legal or not, Half Asian Bill?
Sounds sketchy.
Nice edge.
You like that? You like that lawyer answer?
you jerk.
And if any, the thing is, there's so much. If any of this is incorrect, if they can prove is incorrect, this person is in trouble.
Yeah.
The person who made the statement, absolutely.
Right. And
If
this
they're
person is
making
willing to.
factual material statements that are false, they will be likely found to have committed perjury. And so here's the other part is, so people will say, oh, well, you know, the people who are signing it have no idea. They're just being told to sign this stuff. But actually suborning perjury, so going out and procuring perjury, is perjury itself. Like, it's also within the perjury statute as a crime. Here's the thing. Even if you ask for someone to make a false statement and they don't even make the false statement, that's punishable as a felony.
Well, that's why I was getting into like where these things came from. Like, there are
the
crimes committed everywhere. If that's
process
true.
of it is made that has penalties that are involved. And so, like, for that one, just being very straightforward. If you look at that statement, the question is always going to be: this is like what you asked the question of: what is the way it's supposed to be, and what is the way it's being done, and what is the legal way to do it in the way it's being done? There are reasons why you have to rerun ballots if they're not read, but not running them 5 times, not rerunning them 27. The same
with tape over the number too.
With tape over the number,
and it just so happens to coincide with the 1 hour and a half nap that I took, and the sudden jump. Which, by the way, let's go to see it really quickly. They're saying Biden leads Trump by more than 5 million votes nationwide. Well, yeah, if you read them 5 times, running the votes 5 times is not a mundane detail, Michael. Okay.
That's a good trick.
Love it.
Here's another one. This can be found, again, on the PDF. I want you all to read it. It'd probably take you a couple of hours on page 25, page 116, page 122, page 138, page 158, page 185. We have over 6 eyewitnesses testifying that ballots not in the voter database were just entered using a fake birth date of 1/1/1900.
Oh, wow. Why would it's just a terrible date?
6 separate witnesses. Again, check up all those pages. This is also, interestingly enough, this is an excuse that's often used when we talked about dead voters going, well, we just sometimes they just enter in the 1900 as a birth date. That's also not a legitimate vote if it doesn't match the birth date of the person in question.
You're not supposed to correct it on your own.
Because there's one person here who said that their son voted who's dead twice. Now, all of the local news said that had been disproven, but they didn't actually provide sources to it being disproven. What I had read was they said, well, sometimes if they're part of a new township that's created, they'll just give him like a birthday like 1900. That's also an illegal vote.
Exactly. What? Fact check. He actually only voted once.
Right.
That was their fact check.
We have a new town. We're just going to hand out birth dates now.
And so here's the thing: it's like there were some examples where, the birth date was illegible. They put a placeholder birth date in there of 1900, and then they go back and they follow those up. And so even if, this is the entire problem I have with anyone going, no, there's no fraud at all, there's no irregularities, we shouldn't look at any of this, just crown Biden and move on, is there are legitimate irregularities that the system is already set to review. So we're not saying, hey, do an extraordinary review, don't do anything that's abnormal, canvass the districts, look at the votes, check the ballots, check the things that are irregular, and let the the chips fall where
By the way,
may.
that's important. You just said canvass the districts. This is something I want everyone to know. It's in Georgia, for example, and keep in mind, too, the Georgia Secretary of State, this isn't anyone involved, even if they're a Republican, they don't want to say, yeah, I was involved in the most incompetent voting process that has ever taken place, even if it's not scandal. So they're not necessarily going to be looking as aggressively as possible, regardless of political affiliation, because it reflects badly on them as well if they didn't catch it. But this is something that was overlooked, and I would say even on our show, we didn't have enough time. In Georgia, people just think, oh, it's just a recount. Explain to people what the canvassing is, the recount, how that's different, a manual recount, and why it could change things dramatically and catch fraud. Because it's not just going, all right, recounting, and there might be a difference of a few votes.
Well, it's looking at, in every state, the ballots are a little different. They have different requirements. For example, in Wisconsin, there's the witness and the address
ballots
requirement.
Are made of cheese.
Right, they're made out of cheese. Sometimes they have a little bites. If it's Swiss cheese, you may miss a candidate. But when
Brett Favre shows you his penis.
I think he lives in a different state now.
Atlanta.
Really?
Yeah.
No, he abandoned them quickly. Sorry, go ahead.
So
Steven knows sports.
Every different state. I love when Steven mentions sports. It's like I know I'm going to get gobbledygook.
Yeah.
It's when except for
a gook saying gobbledygook.
Hey,
sorry.
come on.
You prefer slope. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I
Zipperhead.
prefer Charlie. Okay. So when you go to the different states, before they can certify, they have to do canvassing, and people are going, I can't believe they're asking for this canvassing. I don't know. We've only been doing canvassing our entire nation, the entire history of certified votes. Again, not every state has it. Every state does it a little bit differently. All we're saying is do the process you normally do. And in an election where it's not that close, no one pays attention. But just because you didn't know canvassing happens and that canvassing is required and vote certification is happening and reviewing the irregularities and checking to make sure they're right, doesn't mean that hasn't already been
what I
the
think
process.
This comes down to if people believe that this is legitimate or not. For example, just because you didn't know that canvassing happens, just because you didn't know, for example, it's like, I think that vote should count, but he wasn't born in 1900. Why? Well, that's illegal. I didn't know that.
That's not an argument.
It doesn't matter.
That's not a defense.
I don't care what Detroit Free Press told you. If you were born in 1967 and it says 1900 and it doesn't match your voter registration, that is not a legitimate vote because we cannot know what is accurate or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we've just gotten so used to the media calling an election and we just trust, those are the results. And we had no idea this entire process went on until around December 14th, I think, when they actually say, votes certified in each one of the states.
Right.
And we just thought it happened the night of the election, right? And CNN went out of their way to make sure that we knew that wasn't the process right up until their guy was the beneficiary. And then they said, nothing to see here, move along.
Like,
this is extraordinary.
Well, it's more nefarious than that. They weren't trying to let us know that wasn't the process. They were trying to let us know that actually this time we wouldn't even know the winner.
Yeah.
Period.
We wouldn't.
Because usually the process is used, but media will call it and they work with local officials and they go, okay, we have we think we have an accurate count.
Right.
But they were saying, don't believe any of it.
Right.
If Trump wins. And they had to keep saying it up until 4:25
a.m.
And you know how here's the thing. When they say, well, we knew that Biden was going to pull ahead. Do you know how you know that's not true? Cenk Uygur, who we will not mention after this stream, was losing his mind up until midnight. He hated everybody. Democrats did not see it as a surmountable lead at that point. They were just as surprised. If they were saying, hey, listen, keep calm, all is well, winning Florida by double digits, by twice the margin of last time. I think last time was 1.5, it was 3 point something. I don't know the total tally. They would have said that. Hey, listen, it's going to change on the mail-in ballots. No, you could see that it was like a death march. And then they said, what? Hold on a second. At 4:51 in the morning, like, how did this change? It's like, I don't know. Shouldn't you ask? I don't ask questions.
When the bank error favors me, I don't say anything.
Where's Jesse Ventura when you need him? All he does is ask questions. Never provides answers.
Not at all. No.
Like, what happened with that voting machine? I don't know. What do you think happened? I'm just asking the questions.
Always the interviewer, never the interviewee.
Was the W. Bush family sitting down there behind the tallying machine with a Saudi prince and an Acme plunger blowing up Tower 7?
Is that what you're suggesting?
I'm just asking questions regarding the facts. with my creepy riff-raff head.
So one thing I would say is very interesting, because I talked to a lot of people. I think I've mentioned this before the election. There's not a lot of court going on these days, so I'm like not getting my fix of adversarial conversations that I would normally do.
You call me up at 2 a.m. just to argue.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, no, you should not be wearing spandex. This is not the time of year.
He's probably right.
And so I would go talk to a bunch of folks, and I'm still doing that today. And a lot of folks on the left, like folks who are just openly, they support Biden, they go, we need to count the votes. They're like, just let I don't want to have to answer to someone and say, oh, we just won because we shuffled it under the bed.
Yeah.
But that is not what you're hearing on CNN. They're like, I'm looking around and seeing these headlines, but
less than half of America believe Biden won. People don't understand that.
Exactly.
There have been several polls that have come out to that effect.
And people are like, just count. And I go, exactly. I go, that's the kind of stuff you need to be telling other people. They're like, but everyone around me is saying, this is America. Why aren't we following the law? Like, why are we stopping following the law? Let's just count the votes.
But this is the thing. They didn't know. It's like, well, hey, listen, you can't Molotov cocktail 5 Below. Well, I didn't know that.
Where's that written?
We're still going to have to arrest you. No. I don't think so. No, we're going to arrest you. That vote is not legitimate. I didn't know. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That does not matter. I had a friend who got arrested because, or he was detained because he accidentally caught a species of fish in Lake Michigan that you were not allowed to fish.
Huh.
And he legitimately could claim ignorance because everyone could.
Yeah.
And he was a professional hockey player. And they're just like, you can't do that. We're going to have to bring you in. He's like, what is this? They said, that's illegal. He goes, but what is it? They said, does it really matter? We'll just show you it's illegal. He said, all right. And he took his licks.
Yeah. Well, then you knew about it.
All right, here's another one. This is from page 37. Regarding mail-in voting. Poll watchers observed mail-in ballots being logged even when they had no signature or weren't a registered voter. Again, you can find this in the PDF on page 37. We have seen this happening across, or many sworn affidavits across the country. Again, all of this is just Michigan. There are also numbers coming in that there are a disproportional number of ballots that just had Biden and Harris, and I can't verify this, but it hasn't really largely been disputed, where it's just Biden and Harris and not the rest of the ticket.
Nothing else voted
which is
down.
very rare.
weird.
Well, and one of these, the signature thing pisses me off more than just about anything else, because that was what they assured us would be the backstop. They said, no, mail-in ballots are fine because we can check the signatures, and that will be fine. And just to go, I don't know, you put an X over here and a Y over there, that's fine.
They did fix it because we've talked about this long before this show about how many votes could be compromised because a lot of ballots either didn't have signatures or the signatures didn't match. But now they just said, good enough. So it's not in the same name. Hold on, that voter's name is Paul and it says John. Well, he wrote John Hancock. He was being ironic. No, he wasn't being ironic. That's not the right signature. And now all of a sudden you have ballots accepted, mail-in ballots, at 30 times the rate of any other election.
Unbelievable.
Because any signature is good enough. Think about that for a second. All of these things and then something that is statistically observable, no one can dispute this whatsoever, mail-in ballots in the year, the first time they were unrequested, accepted at 30 times the rate. Rejection rate was 1% is what it used to be. Now it's like 0.03 something percent. Think about it. Those add up. Over 100,000 votes, a couple million votes. That's not a rounding error. That's winning a state.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just one factor, right? Go to postmarks and everything else, and you start to add these things up, and it becomes a huge number of votes turned.
So, but Gerald, if only there was a way for us to double check and to make sure that the things were
I think the winner's already been declared, Bill. I apologize. We have to move on.
If only our government had already put a process into place to double check these votes and give Americans... We already have one.
Right. But I didn't know that.
Well, I guess Joe Biden's the winner.
Just give Joe Biden the trophy. What, you think the president gets a trophy?
Well, a plaque then, fine.
He gets a plaque. He doesn't get anything.
Look,
he becomes leader of the free world. Well, I didn't know that.
Well, I'm going to tell you guys, I think you're making a big mistake even referring, in any way to think that this is going to be a Biden presidency. This is definitely Kamala. All day, every day.
This is a Harris.
I sent her a cookie bouquet just to hedge my bets, okay?
Right.
Just to hedge my bets. Sometimes I go to a Methodist church and not just a Baptist church just to hedge my bets.
Oh, really?
Right.
Oh, interesting.
What you do if you want to send Joe Biden a gift, send him a gift that you really want for yourself, but you can do without for about 9 months to a year and a half.
And put a return address.
Here, Biden, look, I got you a new Nintendo Switch, huh? Yeah. Well, I keep the gift receipt. And should something happen, you see there's a contract there that says it returns back to its rightful owner.
Just send it back.
Huh? What? You're leader of the free world. Well, I didn't know that. So here's another one. Duplications. This is on page 107. If we go hold on, before this. Why is Morticia Adams on CNN right now?
No, that's Dick Durbin.
The other day she was doing the little shoulder pads like Orphan, and now she just. How funny would it be if that guy just reached into her little box and just went, "Gotta me." What is this?
Crime.
I'm telling you, she's trying to start a new trend.
Are you saying it's unprofessional?
Yeah.
Yeah, I am. And I know this is one thing. Women act as though they have it harder in the workplace because, men wear a uniform. Could you imagine if you walked in today wearing ruffles? Wearing a pirate ruffles shirt?
You're getting beaten up.
Or just a lace negligee? People are like, what are you doing? That's unprofessional.
I mean, Stephen, the number of times before the show started, and I've had to tell Gerald to take the ruffles off.
It's true.
I'm really protecting you here.
I think it works. It works. Come on.
I'm not saying you didn't look good in it. I'm saying it's unprofessional.
He's tall, so the lines, he can do the horizontal lines.
I know.
By the way, Half Asian Bill, doesn't matter how many vertical lines you try and put on your suit, we can tell. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, I want you to notice that CNN always has the popular vote up. The irrelevant statistic is always there. They don't show you that it's an 11,000 vote difference in Arizona. They don't show you that it's under 20,000 in a couple of other states. They just show you, the popular vote, it's almost 6 million now. Of course he won.
Say no evidence of voter fraud. No evidence of voter irregularities, none whatsoever.
Right.
There's a lot. Now, as to whether there's enough to flip all of these states, but anyone who says there's no evidence, they're lying to you. Discount them immediately. Just like if someone says, I guarantee you Donald Trump won, discount them immediately.
Right.
That is not information that is valuable because this person does not know. We do not know exactly what has happened with this election. We do know that there are illegitimate votes. We do know that there are irregularities, and in some cases, fraud, to the level of which that we don't know. So this is from page 107. A poll watcher saw poll workers duplicating ballots to incorrect precincts in order to run through 2 ballots for one person, and they said that they observed this repeatedly, about 20 to 30 times.
So of all the different allegations, this is one of the ones that I think is a very much like there's no innocent explanation for that.
Right.
If they saw what they saw, and I realize they've signed and said that this is what they saw. But look, having worked in law, you see people who everyone will see the same scene and remember things a little bit differently, or there's some explanation. But that's one of the ones where it's really hard to think of how could there be an explanation. You saw the ballot, it had a precinct. You saw another ballot, it had the same person with the same votes, but with a different precinct, and then they both get run through, right? There's no legitimate explanation for that. And it's one of the examples that we have to look to get to the bottom of. And here's one other point. Let's say that the presidential election doesn't change. Let's say that the swing states, the battleground states, they are what they are, and Trump doesn't end up winning. There's still a lot of other ballots that matter. We're coming into a 2021 redistricting cycle.
Right.
The state legislatures are the ones that determine that. So knowing that the ballots for those less popular candidates or less popular races is really, really important.
Especially when you've already had people who conceded, and then they were like, oh, by the way, you won by 1,000. He's like, oh, you're bullshitting. Think about this for a second. How would you not want to investigate an election where you had a 6,000 vote slip, just a flip, and they go, well, we caught it, so the system works. Well, hold on a second. You caught it in one district, and you're claiming it works. I would prefer that it didn't happen at all. Seems it's an oversight that 6,000 votes were miscounted for the wrong guy entirely. And we also have another in Michigan, a Republican who conceded. And then they found out, actually, you won by 1,000 votes, which in that district is a lot. That's a significant margin. This happened, just those 2 examples. Wouldn't that warrant an investigation of every vote in the state of Michigan? 6,000 votes, that's consequential in the national election. And a local guy lost until he won. You know what?
And if it's a glitch.
I mean, if someone here came forward with proof that Gerald had groped them once, and I was like, well, how do you know? And I see videographic evidence of his hand sliding up a thigh, and then another one is just a videographic evidence of him later on surfacing himself in the bathroom. I'd be like, you know what? Now I think that we need to look into this, and I go through the Ring security footage because I found 2 examples. That's enough.
Why am I the example?
For example, Tubin. If Tubin did it twice, wouldn't it be worth a probe? Not the kind of probe Tubin would like, but a probe into how many times has Tubin done this. It happened 2 times that affected the outcome of elections in Michigan. Wow. That's That's no evidence. No, that happened.
Yeah, and there's I don't understand where they get the no evidence claim. They can not like the evidence. They can not like what they're seeing and think maybe it's not going to change the overall. But there is evidence that stuff happens.
Oh, irrefutable evidence. Yeah. By the way, hit the notification bell. Speaking of irrefutable evidence, because subscriptions don't mean a whole lot on YouTube, and the notification bell goes straight to your mobile app and tells you, or your phone, your mobile app. I don't know. I am tired. We're not taking a break since election nor weekends. Wow. And we do Good Morning Muck Club, of course, weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern. Here's another one. This is from page 172 of the PDF that is publicly available. And
go look at it.
The good thing about the Green New Deal is everyone could read it because it was 5 pages. It was written by a functionally retarded person. This is a little bit tough because most people don't want to comb through 235 pages.
Sure. So you got to pass the president before you can read.
Right. And when you always hear the left, they go, "Well, we're the party of nuance." You were going to take over the economy with 5 pages, and it was double spaced. It was double spaced, and this is 234, and you don't have any interest. Don't tell me the party of nuance. Come on.
Gosh.
This is page 172. A poll watcher examined a box of ballots and found 60% or more had the same signature.
What?
That's totally normal.
Again, we need to investigate this, but this is a sworn affidavit.
Right.
That comes from someone in Michigan.
That's something that hand counting with supervision will find.
Exactly.
That's why they don't want it.
And this is a question that I did have for you, Half Asian Lawyer Bill. How many of these things, if you do a hand count, can be found versus not? So, for example, this is one you can find if they all have the same signatures. Right. But if some of these, secret ballots have been destroyed, like there are some things that could be covered up afterward.
Yeah.
Right. So one of the hardest ones are ballots that don't actually make it into the system.
Right.
So if they never got received, and that's, if there are ballot boxes or drop-offs and they just don't get collected or they get dumped or they get sorted before they're taken in, it's really hard because you don't have anything in the counting, right? The counting presumes that you already have, but there's not really anything you can do about that at this stage.
What about backdating? Like the ones that have been backdated, can you find those in a hand count?
So in some states, they keep a record of when it was actually received, and it went through a process where it was stamped. Though, as we saw, there have been questions about were they stamped appropriately on that day or not. Sometimes they're dated in the ballot itself. So, for example, you know that it was sent the day before the election, and then somehow it got in and had a date from the day 2 days before the election.
Right.
You know you've got a problem. I would actually say, though, that
especially when they put the date in as 1900.
Yeah.
Right. Then you're like,
that's when it was
it's the wrong fraud. Ooh, bad fraud, Pete. I knew I shouldn't have hired you for our fraud campaign, bad fraud, Pete.
One of the actual problems with the multiple signatures that are the same, though, is you can only know that if someone notices it. If you have 1,000 people counting and you have the same 1,000 signature, one for each person, you may not realize.
And it's really hard to notice if the entire voting precinct is an arena covered in Bristol boards.
Right.
Yeah.
You're
Wayne
right.
County,
Or you're like
Detroit.
60 feet away, from that. That's,
like there's some of this
really
too. You just have to put 2 and 2 together.
right.
It's like they're putting up wallpaper on glass.
Yeah. Bill,
when have you ever seen that outside of a horror movie? And that's only because people are acting in the exact opposite way that someone would react in real life. You go, who puts wallpaper on glass?
especially when
Democrats
we're
in
supposed to be
Detroit.
observing what's going on behind that glass. But also the guidance that they were given, Bill, the guidance that says even if the signature doesn't match, even if it doesn't have a signature, even if the postmark isn't clear, even if it is after the deadline, go ahead and accept that. Go ahead and say that that is a legitimate ballot. Can't we go back and find that? That's illegal conduct to say, guys, go ahead and do it, even though that's against our state laws, right? And I think that's what they're alleging happened in Pennsylvania.
And in some of these districts, folks were giving the wrong instructions. And look, it's not that it doesn't happen in every election. The question is it happening in the key precincts, in the key districts, and having a material effect on the outcome of the election? And when I say the election, I mean the entirety of the election, not just the presidential election.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. And so one of those
one thing to just, I don't want you to hold that thought. One thing to be clear, it really only takes 1 or 2 precincts per state to change it. So people think it has to be widespread across the state. No, Wayne County is enough. In Pennsylvania, especially when you have some states that are 20,000 votes, or Wisconsin, it can be 1 or 2 precincts. So we need to be clear about that. You're not just talking about every individual's home. These ballots are collected in basically what are giant ballot farms, effectively, right? And then if it's covered up in Bristol board and they don't let anyone in, then now you know that you're screwed.
Well, think about a state like Arizona. You have Maricopa County that far exceeds almost every other county in terms of numbers.
Yeah.
So you could make it look like like very little of a problem by framing it like, well, one of 34 counties had a 2% error rate in the counting of ballots for one candidate versus another, or 2% of them didn't actually get in, or 2% of them had irregularities that we ignored despite state law, and we counted them. But then you go and you're like, okay, well, but how many is that 2%, and how much is that 2% against the rest of the? It actually is 11%, right? Because of the number of people. So you know that you have to look at the objective numbers and also the percentage.
We'll just give you an idea when people say, well, how can the county affect it? Wayne County, when you're talking about Detroit, that affects the crime rate of the entire state. Like murder in Michigan is basically Detroit. It's Detroit, and every now and then there's a little bit of a scuffle at the drive-in in Muskegon. Outside of that, that's what it is. People don't realize this. When Bill Clinton tried to claim credit for tough on crime, right, in the 90s, it was Rudy Giuliani in New York. That affected the entire national crime level, violent crime level. So you need to understand how much a state can be affected by just one county. All of Michigan. If you talk with Michiganders, right, people who don't actually live in Detroit, just like, if we could just annex that shit and send it to Canada, we would be better off. Because they know how much influence it has and how corrupt it is. For crying out loud, this is how corrupt. People talk about Chicago corruption. I don't know that we've had a mayor. I think probably 2 out of 3 mayors in Detroit have been investigated, if not arrested. That guy Kwame, who was mayor in Detroit, his wife may or may not have killed prostitutes who he had in the mayor's mansion, and he tried to flee. They caught him at the Dallas airport. Remember?
Yeah, they were like, hey.
So not only is he a criminal, he's stupid. Like, what do you think? They don't need to extradite you when you land in Dallas.
Bad plan.
Get an international flight, you moron.
So, Gerald, to your point about the instructions, there have always been issues where, you worked in one state and then you move to another state and then you're in the next election and you're helping to work and the instructions are different, or the instructions have changed because of the rules, or there were a lot of last minute legal rulings that were had, and you've got to communicate that to lots of people who the last time they did this was the last cycle 2 years ago, and the instructions were a little bit different. So when you have legitimate claims of questions about instructions being given correctly or the process not being done according to the instructions that were given, you have to be able to answer those. I mean, it's again part of the process we already have in place.
Well, in Pennsylvania, the Supreme Court had to come a third time to tell them.
No evidence. Okay.
That's
Be
true.
peaceful.
Be peaceful.
Be legitimate.
Now, obey. And now we are going to come back in just 30 seconds with actually potential new voter fraud as expressed by the New York Times and the Yang Gang. Hey, now you know why I hate you guys. Sorry, I know, but he's not emblematic of all of you guys.
No.
But right now, really quickly, a word from our sponsor, ExpressVPN.
I think everybody's gone.
Yeah, looks like everyone's gone in the back too. I'll get the snacks and stuff. Do you want to fire up the projector?
President-elect Donald Trump is full of shit. The Electoral college is full of shit. We were trying to have a vote.
Here you go. Brought you beverage.
Well, thank you. Have you seen this one yet?
Yeah, I've seen it like 8 times, but find something new each viewing.
Snap. Time for a bacon grease snap. Num num bacon grease. Come on.
I'm too fucking open-minded.
Time for a bacon grease snap. Num num bacon grease. Come on.
What is happening?
At least what you do online is your business. Protect your business with ExpressVPN.
And by the way, we are going to be talking about passing TYT.
Yes,
it's the hashtag Crowder passes TYT. Crowder passes just if it gets trending, it'd just be a nice little cherry on top. But if you go to expressvpn.com/Crowder, you get. I want to make sure I get this right. You get 3 months free, an extra 3 months free. We've used ExpressVPN. We use it when sort of actually figuring out some of the algorithms with social media. But here's also where a VPN is valuable, because all of your data is private, right? And you can't be traced. You can't be. I was trying to say traced and tracked.
No, you didn't do either one.
I just pulled a Biden.
Hey, I think you just invented a
just
new
so
word.
you know the thing.
Is my left side drooping? Can I become CEO of Pfizer now? I'm sorry, sir. I'm doing my best. So, when I use ExpressVPN, it doesn't matter what I watch. It still auto-suggests Seth Meyers.
Really?
Because we've talked about this.
deep,
I don't
man.
know why.
That's
it doesn't
bad.
matter if I'm watching Anthony Cumia, if I'm listening to a Bill Burr podcast or Nick DiPaolo, it could be Ben Shapiro. It always suggests Seth Meyers. Who is demanding Seth Meyers?
You don't want to know what Seth Meyers did at YouTube headquarters.
Yeah.
Oh, my word.
We will make Gerald do those things.
No,
we use ExpressVPN.
No, you will
No,
not.
but you know, and here's the other part, right? A lot of folks are like, "Hey, wait a minute, we've got big tech, we got big data. They're out there, they're taking all this information, they're selling it, and they're making these online profiles." Like one of the best ways to just carve back a little bit of that is using ExpressVPN. You don't even have to use it when you're doing secret stuff or what, stuff that has to be, whether trade secrets or work or confidential. You can just use it during your everyday browsing and other things like that, whether fetish or otherwise. Yes.
You know all about that, Asians. I don't know why it is that men love. Well, your dad is white, and you were just telling me today that your dad beats you at ping pong.
He's so
Really?
good.
Whoa.
Now, was
How's
your
that
dad
possible?
only interested in Asian women, though? Was that like his thing? Because I feel like a lot of guys who I know, like they
I don't know.
Who did he date
all the
before your
commercial
mom?
guys.
Well, I wasn't alive then.
You never asked him?
No.
My dad always liked blondes, and so my mom made sense. I didn't know but the guys who I know a guy who was married to, and he was like, I only date Asians, and I actually this was his response. I said like, and I think Asian women obviously are beautiful, the hair and it's exotic, especially to
Man, I love those ladies with hair.
No, like that long, straight black hair. But he actually made this reaction. I said, "What about would you ever if there's like a nice white woman?" He went, "Ugh."
Oh wow!
So I don't know. I mean, I know that before marrying my wife, who's Mexican, I had never dated any minority at all. Right? And period.
How dare you?
But that was just because I'm in St. Louis and there's not that many.
What are you talking about?
Are you kidding me?
At least where I was.
Well, he didn't make the drive to Ferguson. Okay.
There's a great old Norm Macdonald joke. It's that ping pong is the only sport named after its inventor.
Wow.
But my dad is very good at ping pong.
Yeah.
But my Chinese grandmother, so on my mother's side, was better than him and would beat him regularly.
Yeah.
So I think really the moral of the story is I'm terrible at ping pong.
No, you're actually pretty good.
You're
at
pretty
and
good.
you're great. I would imagine your Chinese grandmother does it while chain smoking cigarettes and then swallowing them backwards because it's just old age. They smoke.
Putting 'em out on her
Let's see
tongue.
right here, really
So,
quickly, CNN, before we go to the next version of election fraud.
We'll know the final Arizona tally soon. But that
Trump
tweet
touts
is just
Arizona
more
vote count
evidence
while
of the
dismissing
president's
other
folly.
results. This is one of those things they just go without context.
Yeah.
Isn't that hypocritical? Oh, hold on a second. Let me ask you. Did we already verify 6,000 votes accidentally went to the other guy in Arizona?
Yeah.
Was there an actual local seat that flipped after a Republican conceded in Arizona? No, this happened in Michigan.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that nothing wrong has happened with Arizona because, of course, there were military ballots that came in late. There's some just ballots that didn't come in on time at all. But again, it's not just hypocritical because you go, oh, you know what? Maybe that state did it right and that state didn't.
And it's still
He's
close.
also not contesting the results in New York, to be clear.
Exactly. Or Florida.
Or California. He's not only contesting states where he lost, we're only talking about states where there's verified evidence of nefarious activity, which again, you say does not exist. So someone watching this, not understanding the context, goes, well, it's hypocritical. No. He's not contesting all states, just the ones where we have verifiable proof of some bullshit. Now, again, to Minority Report this, the left is now being open about committing voter fraud. This would be voter fraud. It wouldn't be an irregularity because it's before, like an irregularity doesn't happen beforehand.
You don't plan an irregularity, is that what you're saying? Yeah.
And if you think it might happen, you get some benefol.
Benefol.
Whatever the fiber thing is.
Yeah.
What is it? Fiber? What's the fiber thing? Benefol. I see commercials.
It was a poop joke.
Are you recycling Ted Cruz's poop joke?
No, I'm not recycling Ted Cruz's. What's the fiber thing that you drink? The orange drink cafe.
Benefol. You're right. Yeah.
Metamucil.
Beneful's there too.
Yeah, Benefol. Anyway, the point is, shut up. So in Georgia, we are going to have runoff elections. And I know some people are going to say, hey, what's that? Well, you don't really need it. It just means there's going to be another election, okay, for people who don't necessarily pay attention. For which party controls the Senate. Now, I actually think this is more important because when people talk about, Kamala Harris will be the tiebreaker in the Senate, people don't realize the VP has a tie-breaking vote. But keep in mind that when we're talking about the number of Republicans in the Senate, it still is including Mitt Romney, -1.
Yeah. Can't trust that guy.
Party affiliation, Sandy Vagina.
It's going to be a tough one.
It's a growing movement. By the way.
But hey, you know, from every sandy vagina comes a pearl.
That makes sense.
Have you never seen an oyster?
I don't know. I get clam. Yeah. So, the New York Times columnist Thomas Friedman.
Yeah.
We showed you this earlier today, but it gets worse. I want to revisit this. He encouraged people to move to Georgia to vote in the runoffs. Here you go.
I hope everybody moves to Georgia, you know, in the next a month or two, registers to vote and votes for these 2 Democratic senators.
That guy looks like Dennis Farina banged someone who sells meatball sandwiches. It looks like a caricature
only
of
get
something.
the meatball.
Georgia. So that, and then I want to go through Andrew Yang, but Andrew Yang tweeted a similar strategy, let's call it, where he said, everyone who campaigned for Joe should get ready to head to Georgia. I'll go. There isn't much time.
Bro.
The earliest date for absentee ballots to be mailed for the runoff is November 18th. The registration deadline is December 7th. The in-person voting, I mean, he's laying out a blueprint.
Bro, that is
seems
illegal.
to me that they are suggesting what I believe to be, correct me if I'm wrong,
Possibly.
felony voter fraud.
So the Italian meatball sandwich guy? Yeah. So his thing seems much more closer to what would be voter fraud. So encourage, and it's not just fraud to go and do it, but to encourage someone or purchase their vote, which has been suggested that, you could pay people to go down and cast their vote.
Chelsea Handler with 50 Cent by offering him sexual favors to vote for Biden.
Yeah, I think that's a problem.
Someone prosecute that broad. I don't care how many books she writes about vodka. You're a slut. We get it.
No. I belong in prisoners' rights. I believe in prisoners' rights. We would not want to put her with them. That would be terrible.
But it would put a smile on their faces.
But I will say, and this is something that's very important, is the fight isn't over with regards to this runoff. So when Andrew Yang is saying, hey, he's going to go there and help, and they're going to increase the number of people that are out there doing not ballot counting or ballot canvassing, but door-to-door vote canvassing to make sure that people are voting for the election, and that they're going to send additional money, and they're going to have all these ballots. This is the time when if people let off the gas in this particular election, you know, it may have even more dire consequences than losing the White House, is to also lose the Senate.
So you don't think that Andrew Yang was saying try and set up a residency?
His stuff does not seem to be set up residency.
Well, I guess it's because
other guy different.
Yeah. Well, by the way, just because I know it's different from state to state, a spokesperson for the Georgia Secretary of State's office, we're back to there, they oversee voter registrations. They did cite a state law that is a felony to vote in Georgia elections if you are not a legal resident or if you're just residing in the state briefly with the intention to vote and then move away. I was joking when I said that 2 days ago because I knew it was highly illegal. I thought it was so obviously illegal, like, you know, when I joke about like killing a hobo, throwing him in the Ozarks. You know I'm not going to do it.
Wait, that was a joke?
It was a joke when I said it, not when you did it.
Right.
But the point is, I was so absurd, I took it to the extreme. Like, let's all move and get apartments, condos in Georgia. I even told, we all had a big laugh about it in the control room. I said, I'll buy you all timeshares. Everyone said, ha ha ha, Stephen, you're incorrigible. And then we saw the guy from the New York Times talk. And it wasn't funny anymore.
And it was
he thought it was a good idea. I heard it from Steven Crowder. We should do this.
Dennis Fiorina's bastard
This is just amazing to me that they are saying this. Let's just move to Georgia to vote.
Like cramp.
And then they want to talk about how, we need to do away with the Electoral College. Why? Because it should just be based on the popular vote. That's what's best representative of Americans. You think that most representative of Georgians is a bunch of the Yang Gang moving into a timeshare, sleeping on beanbags so they can throw their vote and then go on their merry way?
No.
You think that represents the average American? They don't care about representation. They don't care about the systems of law in this country. They care about simply doing whatever is necessary to win an election, whether legal. That's what we are, whether legal or not. This is illegal. This is illegal. Can someone investigate the New York Times guy? Friedman? Can someone call him in for questioning? If they're going to call James O'Keefe in for questioning for running, his biggest crime is running a camera while someone else says, hey, I'm about to commit a federal crime. And then they interrogate James O'Keefe, but now you have a New York Times writer encouraging a crime. Can someone put the heat lamp into his face?
Right. There's got to be a tweet that he followed this up with, too, right? He's got to have written about it as well. It's like, you've got evidence. Let's go.
The only acceptable follow-up tweet to change the scenario is, just joshing, or you should arrest him.
Yeah, exactly. No, he probably doubled down in the tweet is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So it's not just that. I mean, even the Wall Street Journal was publishing articles about how you could go and get established there. And the Georgia government has maintained, look, there is a process for which you would have to establish residency But
Right.
even if you do end up establishing residency, but your entire point was just to come in, establish residency, vote, and leave, that's still illegal.
Yeah.
So it's not only, I mean, if you want to come in and work on a campaign, you can do that. And in fact, that's, I think, what Andrew Yang is trying to do versus Bushy McMeatballs was, I think he's saying, go down there, do your vote, and then move away.
Right.
No problem. Or just go down there, don't even establish true residency. Because, for example, you could like get a Georgia driver's license. So you have to like give up your driver's license from another state, get it there, and go through those steps. There are a couple different ways to establish residency in Georgia, but you can't just go in, vote, and roll out.
I just wish that I had the life of a complete lack of accountability, because I remember we were moving from Michigan to Texas. And I remember talking with my accountant and asking about voting absentee. And I said, hey, or talking about how we pay taxes, right? And he said, well, actually, what you really would have to prove is that you are in this state for more than 6 months out of the year. So it relates to taxes, and specifically as it relates to voting.
Right.
None of these questions matter to these folks.
No, not at all.
Georgia driver's license is good enough for me.
Done.
Do you think they ever have a conversation? Do you think they have any of the legal counsel? Just think of how many conversations we have had where you go, Stephen, I think it might be, this was an actual conversation. Half Asian Bill goes, I think it might be illegal for you to drink half a bottle of Epicock and go into the DMV.
I remember.
That seems
if
legit.
I were a Democrat, no one would care.
It was somewhere between 11 and 97 reasons why that was not a good idea. Half of which were legal.
This was an actual thing that we did not do, because remember they were doing the sick-in when Donald Trump had his hotels. They were going, Trump care makes me sick, and all the Trump hotels. So we wanted to say that government bureaucracy makes me sick.
Right.
So I was going to drink Epicock, but 20 of us, and go into the DMV and just be vomiting uncontrollably. And it turns out that could technically be misconstrued as vandalism of federal property.
Misconstrued, of course.
So I was advocated against. But the point is,
Peaceful protest.
I made the right decision.
Yeah.
My parents told me to make good choices, and I do most of the time.
Yeah, sometimes.
But if not for him, I would have consumed Epicock.
With legal counsel,
the really hard part was trying to find Epicock. Apparently, you can't get that anymore because they say it doesn't work. Yeah. They say that it doesn't actually work to use Epicock and vomit, like if it was used to stop, like poisoning.
Poison. Oh, okay.
Apparently, it doesn't work.
Oh, well.
But I had a guy. So I will say, it was very difficult, but that was not what stopped us. It was this man right here.
The Kraken.
Were you about to say something? You were looking at your phone, or were you just that disappointed?
No, I was trying to see if there were any other sources that were also encouraging, and there are a ton of people who are saying just move to Georgia.
Yeah, just move to
Look,
Georgia.
if you want to move to Georgia and stay there, fine.
Yeah.
That's on you.
Hey, it's almost like CNN could investigate it because they're in Georgia.
Right, yeah.
They got
One
time.
would think.
Like when yesterday, I think it was yesterday, the Secretary of State was talking, and they didn't show it. It was happening on their street.
Yeah.
I mean, and here's
Look out of the window.
I mean,
It's like, what the hell is going on out there? Close the blinds.
there's also a
it's the
level of
Secretary of
line
State.
where things are not voter fraud or they're not illegal,
Sure.
but they're just clearly intended to game the system and thus immoral, right?
Right.
And so, for I feel like we've only heard about this for every day of the last 4 years about one party being the moral party and the other one not. And now to say, well, we're just going to go ahead, get a bunch of people registered, have them all come here, say that they're staying, and then influence the election and essentially game the system to take the Senate. Okay, maybe you didn't do something illegal if you do jump through all the hoops, but you definitely did something wrong.
Well, except the Secretary of State said it is illegal in Georgia.
Yeah, some of that is illegal.
What part's not illegal? What?
If you move there and you are actually going to stay and you get registered in time and you turn in the ballot,
become a Falcons fan.
You could vote. But if you just leave in January, you've got a problem.
Well,
I mean, part of this.
I'm not going to stay in Georgia.
Well,
no, but yeah.
None of these people, they're all going to move back to Williamsburg or Brooklyn or Park Slope.
I'm not a hobo. Crying out loud. I mean, I don't want to insult a large portion of our viewership. Georgia's a horrible place.
No, Georgia's nice.
I prefer the Georgia country.
Wow.
Yeah. That just can't even hold their own against the Russians. I would rather be in that Georgia than your Georgia.
Wow.
So Georgia, get your shit together.
Hey, Georgia, we love you.
He does.
We just don't like your CNN.
Yeah, we don't like your CNN. But we do find it funny when the CNN
state.
gets burned down by the people.
No, please,
And then they repaint
And then
it build it
CNN,
back
they were
up.
reporting on it, please stop. And then they found out that the reason marauders were breaking down the building was because there was a police precinct in that same building.
Right.
Just get them. They're on the second floor.
Yeah.
They don't even care about CNN.
Stelter was hiding under his desk like it was a 50s bomb drill.
Yeah, exactly. Fire doesn't go
This'll
up a
save
building, does it? So we're safe on the 5th floor?
I have no idea. All right, listen, this is Let Me else we have to get to. It's a long time coming, but this right now, today or tomorrow, we will have officially surpassed the Young Turks on the YouTube as the #1 independent news channel.
Oh my goodness!
Oh, there it is! Yay!
Oh, I can't drink from my. Woo! So here's the deal.
It's a little.
Woo! I thought this was going to be bigger than it was.
Yeah. You're talking about the streamers?
No.
Oh, no.
The whole thing, passing the Young Turks again. You can post Crowder passes TYT. But let me give you a story of the saga and why it matters. There were like months that I just dreamed about this as a kid. Because you have to understand, I was a kid. I was 19 years old. This was back in 2008, 2009, where I was doing videos and I had very few. The Young Turks attacked me.
They started the fight.
This was back on YouTube when there were no conservatives, right? There were no conservatives. It was all edgy atheists and liberals, and Young Turks were sort of seen as, I guess, counterculture somehow. They were actually going after me, and they actually went after my friend Lee Dorn, who at the time, he's a lawyer who had a small channel, like 50,000 subscribers. So I remember thinking like, oh, one day I'll show you. And here we are, but it's kind of like, when Rocky Marciano fought Joe Louis. Like, how does it feel beating Joe Louis? He was like, that wasn't no Joe Louis. That fighter I beat out there, that's not the Joe Louis I grew up watching. It's like the Young Turks now. It doesn't really matter.
I didn't know they were still really around.
I know, and with so much money. So
I was going to say, I don't think Joe Louis had heavy investment from Al Jazeera. So.
no.
A little
Poor
bit
guy.
more.
It's
I think
like,
my biggest issue is, I mean, they're no good.
Yes.
So
Kind of a hollow victory.
You can do better.
Let me give you exactly. But this is when we say independent news, we mean like actually independent. We don't have money. Well, you're a little late with the streamers there.
Bill.
You guys invented fireworks.
You should know better.
What are you going to do next? Overcook your noodles?
Yes. The answer is yes.
So the Young Turks, that people were saying congratulations to the 5 million. To me, that doesn't really matter. What matters is passing the Young Turks. And then I realized that doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
And I told you, I made this promise to you guys. Once we pass the Young Turks and overall subscribership, that I will no longer be using them as a source to rebut. I will no longer be making fun of them. I will, at the end of this show, retire once and for all my Cenk impression and my costume because I don't want to be a bully. This is kind of like right now, it's like as a kid, you imagine showing up to your bully and going back and telling him what's what, and then he's got a pot belly and he's bald and he's divorced, and like that's kind of what this is, but I still have to do it. I have to do this. So, because what happened was they attacked me early on, and then what really bothered me, you understand, I was a little young kid when the Union assault happened in Lansing, Michigan. So I had gigabytes of footage. I'm giving you the saga of Stephen Crowder and the Young Turks. I had gigabytes of footage that I tried to submit to the local DA or to the local police. They said that I couldn't submit it because I was no longer in Lansing. I didn't live in Lansing, which of course I found out later is untrue. So none of my evidence was submitted, but the Young Turks actually did a video claiming that they had watched the footage and I commit a crime, which the local district attorney used as evidence. So this is what the Young Turks did.
So in that edited video, it appears that the man is standing calm in the beginning and then sucker punches Crowder out of nowhere. Turns out when you look at the full tape, not exactly how it went down.
Oh my God, I forgot how different he looks
changed.
now.
Yeah.
He has changed. The years have not been kind to him. And I say this as someone who is aging at an accelerated rate like a podling in the soul chair. But this is what happened. I was assaulted by a union member, and we uploaded this footage, and then
sucker punch.
Sucker punched. Right. And then after, when they did this, and the DA said, or I don't know if it was district attorney, if it was prosecuting attorney exactly, said like, well, I watched from the Young Turks commentary, and it was pretty clear that Stephen had pushed the gentleman first. It was a deposition. I didn't know what was happening, and I wasn't even there. And my evidence had never been submitted. So I did upload this so you can see for yourself, unedited 2 simultaneous angles of this assault footage, which YouTube then labeled age inappropriate so no one could see it. But here you go. See that right there? They're cutting that tent with box cutters. That's what you're seeing. Right there. See that guy stabbing it with a box cutter. You can find that footage.
Yeah.
And the guy who's drunk falls into me there, and wangity bangity bangity bang.
Clinch.
Over under clinch, and then I just turtle because there's 500 of them. Listen to this.
I'll kill a motherfucker with a gun! I've killed 20 motherfuckers with a gun!
guy followed me to my car, by the way.
I remember that.
Oh, yeah.
No, police had no interest in the footage. And there's also in the unedited footage, there was prior to that, you could see that union gentleman. He told everyone I was Betsy DeVos's grandson. Like, he's Betsy DeVos's grandson. Get him. It's like my fictional grandmother employs you.
Right, exactly. So you guys were in this tent that was being attacked by people. The only thing that you guys went out to do was to say, "Hey guys, stop!"
Yeah, there were women in the tent. There were some kids in there. It was a family event.
Stop doing this, and this is a response.
I still have a piece of the tent. It was cut up with box cutters.
Yeah,
I remember we were in there, and I saw it coming, go zzz, like a cartoon, just like the Grinch cutting through the fabric, going zzz, 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 a box cutter.
Wow. Yeah,
and I remember this was the first time in my life where I realized they had this huge platform, right? The Young Turks, and I felt very powerless because, like, well, here I'm going to upload the unedited footage. I couldn't submit it to the cops. YouTube said it's age inappropriate, so no one could see it. And the Young Turks just went out and lied about it. And it was actually, you realize it was actually admitted as evidence, just him talking about something.
Right, exactly.
They didn't actually show. And this this went on for a while. And obviously this is an independent channel. And the crazy funding for the Young Turks, a lot of people don't know this story. They have $4 million in 2014, I think it was from Buddy Romer. They got another 4.25 in 2015. So right now, we're at 8.25 million. Another 20 million in 2017. They received 300 million in Google funds for training journalists. I don't really know what this was. So when I was small, right, really small, as a channel, this is what the Young Turks would do. They would go after me, and then as they started growing and calling them out, nothing. I couldn't get them to show up. I remember there was like Politicon was a small thing. I said, well, I'll do it if it's Cenk. Nothing. This was for a very long time. All of a sudden, it was like I was a ghost and it existed under their bed.
Because you could punch back then.
Yes,
right? You started
but when I was
develop.
small, and that's the thing, is that's why after we do this and we give them their eulogy, that we'll never, ever address the Young Turks again. It's the end of an era. It's the end of a 2-bit hack era. And the Young Turks, speaking of social media, people often wonder why I have such an Instagram with big tech. The Young Turks, they were actually broadcasting it. YouTube created a space. YouTube space. And the Young Turks had a studio there.
Yeah.
My brother used to go in there and do freelance work, and he'd see Cenk all the time.
And they were just like buddies.
No.
I don't even know if they were buddies, but the guy, that's where the bacon grease joke came from, because he would bring his own jar of bacon grease.
No.
It's a true story.
So this is what happened. I kept wanting a debate with Cenk Uygur because he had attacked me when I was young, not 20 years old, and had no ability to punch back, and then he wouldn't respond. And so then what happened was, and this is something that obviously is pretty shitty on my part, but I don't apologize. I started doing sketches as Cenk Uygur, as you guys well know. This has been going on for a while. But here's something that a lot of people don't know. I did these sketches as Cenk Uygur, and what I did was I found out through the grapevine that they really hated it. I was like, well, I have to do more. Of course. So then what I did was I actually did a sketch as Cenk Uygur with all of the big YouTubers at that time, so like Alex Jones, Lauren Southern, Ben Shapiro, Mario Yiannopoulos, and I gave them the video. I said, just upload it to your own channel. So that when you search Cenk Uygur or Young Turks, this is what showed up. And then I also ran these sketches as ads prior to Young Turks videos.
Cruel.
As pre-roll ads.
It's so brilliant.
And they were speaking with an expert at Google who was like, what's this targeting pixel? I'm like, you didn't worry about that one. And of course, they were rightfully furious because this was, for a period in time, a glorious period in time, when you were to click and watch a Young Turks video, you saw one of these sketches as an ad before it.
When you use the F word, you know it's real talk. I said
I've heard about your show and stuff, so I wanted to ask you a question.
No, I said get him off the phone, okay?
Off the phone, you Jewish shekel collecting.
Whoa.
You say the water makes the frogs gay. Maybe you're gay! Maybe you're gay!
Oh, num bacon grease. Yes.
That is actual bacon grease.
That was bullshit! You left us! You broke my heart! Get the on the phone! You're my favorite faggot!
Keep in mind the context of that, which for people who might be Dave Rubin worked for the Young Turks, left them, which already kind of grinded their gears, then had a pretty successful YouTube channel. I produced a video as Cenk Uygur with Dave Rubin, let Dave Rubin upload it to his channel, and then I also ran these as advertisements before Young Turks.
That's pretty
This
epic.
is when they truly began to love you.
Yes.
And then I still, though, no response. We only would hear through the grapevine that they didn't like it, and then I was no longer allowed to run them as ads. And I was like, wow, skunked again. And I really wanted to get my hands on Cenk Uygur, the Young Turks, and I couldn't. So this is probably one of the most cringe. I've talked about the most uncomfortable I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
And it was when I did this, and I'll give you the full story after this clip, but the only way that I thought I could actually physically be in the same room and engage in some kind of debate with Cenk Uygur was to crash a South by Southwest panel in Austin with Cenk Uygur as Cenk Uygur. I apologize for the cringe.
Still banned.
But do respect the commitment to character. This actually happened live.
To go. What's this bullshit? What's going on here? I thought we were having a reasonable discussion. I just want to. Okay. No, don't do it. No, bro. Sit down. Sir, you want to talk about like the insight?
Oh no! Don't sit down. Don't sit down.
I walk in past the room of like 40 people, and he's like, "Okay, this is Steven Crowder. This is what he does, right?"
Yeah.
And the security leaves. They just leave him there. And obviously, I'm not doing anything violent.
Right.
I would never to. I actually don't. I don't personally dislike the guy at this point. But there's an empty chair, and I have to sit down. He's just like, "Don't sit down."
Don't.
Because he knows that I'm not going anywhere until I was physically
he's not going to break character
by security. Awesome. And here's the thing. So that was at South by Southwest. There are 2 Marriotts in Austin.
There, yes.
One is across the bridge. Is it South Lamar? Is that where it is? Lamar? I don't know.
South Congress. Yeah.
So I was there for South by Southwest, and I dressed up in a bathroom as Cenk Uygur.
Right.
Cenk, however it's pronounced. I
who cares anymore?
Was dressed up. I had actual bacon grease because I had a jar that we kept our cooking grease and actually used it because I wanted to Daniel Day-Lewis it, right? I wasn't going to be lazy. And I put it, and I'm waiting in the bathroom, and I had heard that Bill Nye was out in the hall for some reason. And I knew that I was going to, I think it was like Ballroom B in the Marriott. So I'm waiting in the bathroom, and then I get a text saying, crap. He's at the other Marriott.
Oh, gosh.
No. And they've already started. So I have to get in one of these, what's a glorified like pedal cab. You know, it's like one of those like golf carts, but it's like with bubble. Yeah. And I run in there covered in bacon grease in a bubble, like a Jetsons car, as they drive me over to the Marriott.
Oh, my God.
And the security at the front door didn't even stop me.
Well,
they just went, hey. I said, no, it's my panel. And I walked in. And I have never been so uncomfortable in my life. I didn't want to do it, but at a certain point, you have to.
Yeah, I respect you for that one, because you've dressed up as a tranny several times, and this is the most uncomfortable you've been.
Yes.
In any.
No, I haven't dressed up. I've dressed up as women, so careful.
Oh, well.
I've dressed up as women. Hey, that's disrespectful. Disrespectful. I have dressed up as actual women.
Right.
And you copy-pasted your little hate speech there.
Little hate speech.
And this, you may not know, the bacon grease. I actually had to use bacon grease because, little known fact, like Cenk Uygur, he everyone knows that, okay, he's a guy who likes to eat.
Right.
No, he really likes to eat.
And as it turns out, literally 2 minutes before we came on air, I had not one, but 2 epiphany foods, which is amazing.
So these are ideas about food, epiphanies about food.
Yes, don't like spicy food as much as I like non-spicy food. But with spicy food, tortilla, flour tortilla, I didn't like spicy food. Corn tortilla, I love ground beef. I don't like to eat corn tortillas. But if you fry anything enough, I'll eat it. The homosexual lifestyle is terrible, but obviously semen's delicious. Oh my God. I was like, oh my God. Like I Joe Biden myself. Like I leaned in.
The middle road on the
no. I leaned in and I was like, oh, Cenk.
Oh my God.
Like,
if they just did this show.
Anyway, this is getting uncomfortable.
No,
yeah.
Guy Fieri already took up that spot. I'll bleach my hair. I can go to a dash. Okay, listen. No one likes drive-ins and diners more than me.
Driving to Flavortown.
And then the only time that in I would say 8 years that the Young Turks actually ever addressed me publicly was, of course, a lie. And what it was I actually found this. This is really, and I know for some people maybe this is inside, but this is just this kind of matters to me because it's sad. This is me saying goodbye to something that helped shape who I am. Yeah. It was the Christine Blasey Ford saga, and it's an accomplishment. It's something that I hope is on my headstone, that I was called a garbage person by Anna Kasparian, where they lied and took a joke out of context and immediately lost tens of thousands of subscribers. So here's the lie.
So he called her a lying whore. And he also accused her of calling someone a rapist with no evidence. She did not call anyone a rapist. But nonetheless, Steven Crowder, I mean, this is what you can expect from trash like him.
I apologize. I misquoted. Trash.
Yes, trash.
Not garbage. I don't want this whole video to be fact-checked by YouTube.
Yeah. And the Young Turks.
Because I didn't.
Why I have a job.
I misquoted an insult to myself. So, no, first off, she's wrong about all. Christine Blasey Ford did accuse. I mean, do we not remember that she accused Brett Kavanaugh of rape?
No. She gang rapist.
Well, that was the other one. That was Sweatnick.
Oh, that was Sweatnick.
Christine Blasey Ford said attempted rape.
Okay, that's right,
and to be clear, this is a rule that I have for anyone out there who's creating new content. And this is really why this segment matters. People who are planning on creating new content. When I was coming up, it was the era of the Young Turks, and I didn't know if this would exist as you guys watch it now. I'm so grateful because there was no are we there yet because there was no there yet.
Right,
Every day is a new there yet. But if you say anything or if you make a joke or something that you think could be taken out of context, just make sure you say it so that if people extend that clip 30 seconds in either direction, they go, oh, well, now I know what he's saying.
Yeah.
That's a rule that I follow, and it's one that the Young Turks, I guess, have never heard of.
Or the media.
Because this is, no, I didn't just say Christine Blasey Ford's a lying whore. This was the joke that was taken out of context. Let me recap this for you. Ford accused Kavanaugh of attempted rape in a letter to Dianne Feinstein that Feinstein didn't mention until after the hearings. Feinstein said Tuesday she can't vouch for everything, whether it's true or not. Ford doesn't remember exactly when it happened or where it happened. Her story contradicts the therapist. The attorney's story contradicts Ford's. An attorney that originally said Ford would testify is now, I think, saying that she's not going to testify, was put in retainer on August, at which point she took a lie detector test for an accusation she claims she was never going to make publicly at all. Should be noted, investigators are saying that there is still the noted possibility of Ford being a dirty lying whore. It's a good joke.
That was a funny joke, yeah.
Possibility's still open.
From investigators.
Yeah.
Not from me.
Right.
It's a quote.
Yes.
About a possibility.
It's a quote about a possibility. I would never say that.
No.
Certainly.
It's a joke show.
But this is the thing, is they apply these standards, right, with the young, and I think this is why they've lost so many viewers, and it's kind of sad, even though what we've tallied up 30-something, 40-something million dollars in investment.
Unbelievable.
By the way, I haven't taken money in foreign investment from any kind of a foreign caliphate. It's mugs. It's you guys. I know PBS says they're funded by viewers like you, and whichever way Mitt Romney votes.
Really.
But really,
wait. So am I not supposed to be taking money from
foreign
Beijing, or am I supposed?
We'll talk about it later. I mean, details. You can work out the details, but I will say the women, they look mighty fine. Here's the thing. We are funded entirely by you. You join up, Mug Club, louderwithcutter.com/Mug Club, and taken funding from Qatar, from Al Jazeera, which became Current TV, or Al Gore. We've never had to, so this is why this is kind of a significant moment in history, because often people claim, hey, we're the top independent news channel. But this actually is an independent news channel. We don't have allies anywhere.
No.
So, of course, The Blaze, who we work with, obviously. I mean, like NBC, Vox, Universal, ABC, Disney, Turner, Comcast. We're not going to be setting up shop in YouTube studios anytime soon in Marina Del Rey. I don't even know if it's still a thing. But we were clearly not welcome, and it's okay. I wouldn't welcome me either. But I think they took it out of context because they don't want people to know, even though they've become social justice warriors today, their track record, the Young Turks, specifically of misogyny and the way that they treat women without irony.
Now, Steve Crowder is a gross person.
We have a camel toe photo for you.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I mean, that's my bias against him, but...
And you have to guess who the owner of that camel toe is.
You don't need to believe me. You can see for yourselves.
That makes me think Demi Moore, well, she looks young. It's a signal to his misogynistic viewers, never respect a woman. I'm gonna go Demi Moore. No, her breasts are not large enough. That's crazy.
You walk out.
Yeah, or you f*** other women.
Jake is like making a porn plot in his mind.
How you doing, Tiger? If you have a short haircut, they're like, yeah, lesbian. Put her in the lesbian style. Always, find a way to put women down one way or another.
Assuming she's a 5 rather than a 3.
Right there, there's no way I would hook up with her.
Later they can say, oh, I'm not a slut, I just drunk, what could I do? Pressed up against the window. That's how you do it.
But nonetheless, Steven Crowder, I mean, this is what you can expect from trash like him.
I love the ultimatum there.
Yeah.
If you don't respect me, you don't treat me well, I'm gonna f*** other women.
That's
what's
right.
gonna happen.
No, but that's right. And guess what? That'll work. I would legalize bestiality where you are pleasuring the animal. Because we are going to denigrate and try to humiliate every woman, and my audience is going to get off on that, is what he thinks.
Because Megan Fox has like larger breasts than that, and you can't quite tell.
Megan Fox is a twig.
Can't tell. Yeah, but she has nice rack, right?
Go ahead and cry, Stephen. Cry all day long, and we know exactly what you're about. And at least thank you for giving us clarity on how you feel about her and women in general.
Come on.
I mean, what kind of a free country are we if we can't even f someone's wife?
I don't respect that. Like, here's the thing. I actually prefer that old chain. And I'm the guy. My wife and I did not have sex until our wedding nights.
It was definitely more fun.
Yeah, that was definitely more fun.
Yeah,
I think it's objectification of women to rank them by number and talk
Horrible.
about how.
Horrible.
Also, what's most offensive is how flippantly he disregards Demi Moore. Like, she has a small rack. Like, oh, she'll be heartbroken.
Yeah.
She'll be heartbroken, you third-string Turkish wrestler.
Yeah. Tons of Fun doesn't like me. Oh, no.
I forgot how bad that was.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal.
See some of those.
And I wouldn't have any problem with it if you're just like, hey, you know what? I said I would legalize bestiality.
I was very shocked by that.
I'd never heard that.
You were shocked?
I was
See,
shocked.
this is the thing. I've lived. This is why I say I've lived in this bubble for years. I've been here since 2006, right, on YouTube, 2008, doing political videos, and you have to understand, like, that was the Everest to climb. So for me, this is a surreal moment. It's just, I kind of arrived here, and nothing's ever quite what you expected.
Yeah.
It's like getting to the top of Kilimanjaro, and there's a Dairy Queen. And you're like, they ruined it. It's a tourist trap. I thought this would be pristine and untouched.
But you still got a blizzard.
Yeah.
I did get a blizzard, and I turned it upside down. I was like, ooh, it really is thick.
It's true.
Thick just like I like my women. And so now we're at the point, though, and I will say this. Listen, thank you so much to everyone who has subscribed, who has supported this channel. It's been a really wild ride during election cycle 2016. That's when we went daily to election cycle recently. And we don't really like to talk about numbers because those things ebb and flow. Really, what means the most to us is you, because we know that at one point I was that misfit. I will tell you this. I was the misfit where really I had no idea that it would ever work doing anything conservative on YouTube. All I'd been told my whole life was, well, at Fox News, the conservatives don't like this kind of comedy.
Yeah.
I thought, well, I do, so maybe I'm an anomaly. And same thing on YouTube. Well, it didn't exist, and the algorithms kept favoring everything to the left. So I thought, well, you know what? Maybe I just have to try. When we first launched this show, to give you an idea, we actually first launched the show as a podcast. It got 2,000 plays.
Oh.
And we said, well, I guess no one's just going to pay. Because at this point, everyone was saying, hey, all the media consultants would come in and say, do short form content. Yeah. Like, if your thing is 30 seconds, edit it down to 20 seconds. And then if you could add in a cat and like a piano or a funny pie or a turtle humping a Timberland, like that's what'll work. Long form content won't work. And so we actually considered at one point just making this show, all of the content exclusive to Mug Club and earning a living, but like, well, you know what, I guess it's just an uphill battle where we'll never be able to have the kind of influence that the left would be able to have because there just isn't that ability. So that's an actual conversation that had taken place, and it was a real heart-to-heart that I had to have with even my wife going, hey, you know that stuff that I really wanted to set out and accomplish? I don't really know if we can do it. Because there are people, and I remember saying, like, I can't compete with over $30 million in funding if we're both independent. I said, I just can't. I'm just going to be snuffed out. So I say this because anyone out there who thinks that the current landscape is what it will be 10 years from now, don't lose heart. It really can change. It's kind of like we talked about with free enterprise and conservatives. You know, the left says, I want my piece of the pie. We know as conservatives, you can bake more pies. And I've said that, and people go, oh, it's just propaganda from capitalists who want you to keep feeding into the system. No, look. This right now, what you are watching, this is a whole new pie. There was no piece of the conservative, of the right-leaning, of the independent, of the libertarian voice. There was no piece of that pie on YouTube, or this was before Facebook was a thing. This is a whole new pie, and now everyone gets to benefit from the whole new pie. And so here we are. It's kind of bittersweet because, you know, the Young Turks, their numbers keep dwindling and going down, and it's not really a worthy adversary where now we kind of have to go after CNN and bigger networks. And I don't think that we'll ever get to have any of those debates because now I can't do it. I would be a bully. And I do appreciate you bringing us here. I guess as one final time, I should give you one final.
One for the road.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Okay, that's right. It's been a great ride, but this is bullshit.
And it is time to officially retire the Young Turks Cenk Uygur costume and character.